previous sessions have spoken convincingly, I'd say, about how the world is going to look at an upcycle in the markets. The question then is, how do we gain from it? And where do we invest? The answer to this lies in the IFAS Financial Recommended Global Mutual Funds report. And to present our selection of 8 global mutual funds from India, is our very own Krishna Karwa, Senior Research Analyst from IFAS Financial India. Over to you, Krishna.
All right. Thank you very much, Dipali. Good evening, one and all. I am Krishna Karwa, a senior research analyst at IFAS Financial India Private Limited. It gives me immense pride and happiness to present to all of you India's first ever recommended global funds. So, without further ado, let me start sharing my screen. One moment, please. Okay, so when one refers to global funds, the first word that comes to everyone's mind is diversification. And what better way to explain this than looking at 2020 as an example? In March, when the markets declined, the quantum of the decline was not uniform. Similarly, when they made a bounce back thereafter, the quantum of the rise was not the same. This clearly shows you that if you invest in more regions across the globe, you not only limit your downside risk, but also derive a good upside when things turn for the better. So in terms of the fund selection process that we have followed, most points out here are pretty self-explanatory. I would like to talk about the one highlighted in red, which represents the regional star ratings. Remember, India has offices, or IFAST has offices in 5 Asian markets, namely India, Malaysia, Singapore, China, and Hong Kong. There's a team of 26 analysts who closely track 15 geographies. In the Indian context, it is therefore important that we leverage their expertise and knowledge to help our investors make money. And the methodology that is followed in terms of the star ratings is fairly simple. We take into account market and economic variables to determine a reasonable upside over a 2 to 3 year period. And these are the star ratings at this point in time, 5 being the most attractive and 1 being the least attractive. We are relatively more optimistic about Greater China, Asia Pacific as a whole, and emerging markets as a space. In terms of risk ratings, we follow a scale from 1 to 10. 1 to 3 cover the debt mutual fund space, 4 and 5 pertain to hybrid funds, whereas rank 6 to 10 pertain to equities. And as you can see here, popular to what most people feel, global investing is safer than investing in India. Exposure, they can confine themselves to the first couple of names. For the US, we have chosen a passive fund and an active fund. A passive fund that is benchmarked to a headline index can actually help limit volatility during drawdowns, whereas it's the active fund that will outperform the passive fund at a time when the broader markets rally. And that is what we are witnessing at this point in time. In the Asia Pacific space, we have chosen to opt for the 3 big regions, that is China, Japan, and India. In the European space, not too many options available in India, so we've chosen the best of the lot. These are a couple of important terms that all of us need to know. One is the feeder fund and one is the mother fund. So the feeder fund is an Indian AMC whose role is to provide Indian investors access to global equities. This fund in turn will invest in the mother fund, and the mother fund, which happens to be the foreign AMC, then decides on the stock and sectoral composition. So on that note, let's move on to fund number 1, and we'll tell you why we shortlisted this. That's because this mother fund, that is Schroders, is a big brand with presence in 37 countries across the globe. It's also been in existence for the last 15 years and primarily exposes itself to developed markets. Even out there, there is a fair bit of diversification. Of late, however, the fund manager has been eyeing more opportunities in the Asia Pacific space. This pie chart clearly shows you how US is a dominant share, occupies a dominant share of the overall portfolio, but you can see this number coming down and the Asia Pacific exposure going up. And in terms of return profiles, a pretty good set of numbers again. And if you take INR's depreciation against the USD into account, one can derive an incremental set of returns. All right, so fund number 2 pertains to the emerging markets, and the reason why we like this fund is because there is a high exposure to Eastern Asia and more particularly to China. It's also one of those funds that has been in existence for a fairly long period of time, that is 20 odd years, and it covers all major emerging markets in varying degrees. It's also one fund which has outperformed its benchmark over the long term. The feeder fund, on the other hand, is among the best performers in the emerging market space. And this chart shows you the exposure by country. There is a fair bit of exposure to emerging markets like Russia, India, and Brazil as well, among others. And this is the chart that highlights the outperformance of the mother fund. And the return profile, as seen by the difference in columns 3 and 2, represents the impact of INR's depreciation versus the US dollar. We move to fund number 3, which pertains to the S&P 500 index. It's a passive fund, so the first 3 points clearly articulate the benefits of passive investing. It's also the best gauge of the US markets, and more importantly, it is diversified versus the NASDAQ 100 index. The text in red highlights the differences between the two indices, and as you can see, an uptick in cyclical sectors clearly seems to augur well for the S&P 500 index. And here's a look at the return profile. The S&P 500 has outperformed the Nifty 50 over a 10-year period. And if you take into account, once again, the currency advantage, the returns of the S&P 500 will be even better. We move to fund number 4, which pertains to the US markets again. And this is an actively managed fund by Franklin. So the mother fund has been in existence for over 20 years, whereas the management team has been the same for over 15 years. It is market cap agnostic in nature, so you will have a fair bit of exposure to the small and mid cap space as well. However, there is also a good balance of cyclical and secular growth themes, which not only provide stability to the overall portfolio, but also leave enough room to derive incremental returns. The feeder fund in India has been the best performer in this space. And the text in red once again highlights the sectoral exposure in favor of cyclicals to the tune of 40%. So there is a good upside opportunity out here. And these are the historical numbers. The column 3 versus column 2, once again highlighting the advantage due to currency movements. Fund number 5, which is a recent launch from Axis, pertains to Greater China. And the reason why we like this fund is because of the Schroeder brand that I spoke about earlier. The fund has been in existence for over 19 years, and the fund manager has been linked to the AMC for over 24 years. In fact, she heads the Asia Pacific division at Schroders for equities. More importantly, the mother fund has outperformed its benchmark consistently over the long haul. And this outperformance is even more stark in the last 1 year. And as I highlighted early on, China has been one of the best performing markets in the last 12 months, and that's clearly seen in the bar on the left. Fund number 6, which pertains to Japan, is an offering by Nippon. The reason why we like this fund is because it predominantly is invested in the secular growth space. However, the fund manager is open to taking exposures even in the disruptive and innovation space, and that's something Japan, as we all know, is clearly well known for. Stocks are selected using a meticulous combination of top line growth, sectoral leadership, and resilience to global and domestic economic challenges. However, it is the exposure to global brands like Toyota, Mitsubishi, and Uniqlo, among others, that should draw one's attention to this fund as well. Over the long haul, once again, the rupee has depreciated against the yen. And if this trend continues, one can derive an incremental return to that extent. Excuse me. Yes. So let me move on to fund number 7, which pertains to the Nifty Next 50 index. This is a passive product, so the benefits of that investing clearly are highlighted here. The most important thing, however, is that it is more diversified versus the Nifty 50 index and has exposure to new age sectors such as insurance, consumer discretionary, and pharma. And this is in stark contrast to sectors like banking and IT, which are relatively more well discovered in the Nifty 50 index. And here's a look at the historical performance of this fund. All right, so let me then come to the final fund, which pertains to Europe. The reason why we like this fund is because this fund will invest primarily in the developed side of Europe, where the monetary and fiscal stimulus capabilities are relatively better to combat the COVID-19 crisis. The stock selection is a combination of value, growth, and momentum picks. It is also market cap agnostic in nature, so there is going to be a good degree of exposure to the small and mid caps. However, it is the consistent outperformance during the last 10 years that is worth taking note of. The feeder fund has been the best performing in this space in India as well. So this chart clearly highlights the difference between the fund and the mother fund and its benchmark. And the subsequent chart that you see here shows you the region-wise exposure. Clearly, the scales are tilted in favor of United Kingdom and Germany, two of the largest economies in Europe. And you have a decent bit of exposure to some of the other developed markets out there as well. The historical numbers may not seem so impressive, but remember, Europe could be poised for a strong re-rating on the back of an uptick in value stocks and a favorable outlook for emerging markets, which comprise a major chunk of European exports. A few questions that all of you might have in mind is, number one, can you download a copy of the presentation and the report? Definitely yes. Please visit the iFast online booth and download your copy at the earliest. More importantly, a lot of investors have two common questions in mind all the time. Number one, where do I invest? And number two, how do I invest? I touched upon the first question already by virtue of this presentation. However, if you would like to know more about asset allocation, don't forget to log in at 5:45 p.m. tomorrow for a session on India's first global model portfolios. My colleague Rachna Makhija will shed some light on that. For any queries that you might have, please do post them in the chat box. Alternatively, you can drop us an email at research.in@ifastfinancial.com, or you can get in touch with a business development representative who will route your queries to us. Well, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you one and all for your patient listening, and have a pleasant evening ahead. Over to you, Dipali.
Thank you so much, Krishna.